Now let's do something a little bit more complicated because I created urgent task and that was great, but if I want more than one urgent task, I don't want to have to do all that work again. And so if you look at the way our task was, every time I create a new urgent task, I have to go through and add the priority and add the notify again, and that's painful. So what we really want is more true subclassing, or since JavaScript doesn't have subclasses, we're going to call it sub-objecting. Even though that's not really a word, we're going to use it for right now because I want to create a new object that wraps that task and allows me to decorate it with my notify and my priority and all that without changing task. So let's pop over to task. Actually, we'll just copy all this over to a new file. So I've got my task back. But now what we're going to do is we are going to create a subclass or a sub-object, no classes. We're going to create a sub-object that's going to wrap task in its own thing so I can create more than one of them. And the way we're going to do that is by creating a new constructor. We're going to do var urgent task equals, and we're going to have a name, but also pass in that priority. So if you remember, we wanted to add priority, so we're going to add that. And in .NET anyway, you would call super to execute the super class. In this case, we're going to use that call keyword again, and we're going to call the constructor of task to go ahead and execute everything there. And so if you remember, task would say this.name equals name, this.complete equals false. So when I do a task.call, I'm going to pass in this and then send name. And then I'm going to do this.priority equals priority. Now, if I create a new urgent task with, let's say, this is urgent and a priority of 1, when I print that out, urgent task should have 3 things on it. It should have a name and completed from task, but then it should also have priority from our urgent task constructor. So now, if we do our sub-objecting, you'll notice our urgent task has a name, this is urgent, completed is false, and a priority is 1. So I have a true sub-object from task. Now, I don't have everything, and that's a problem because I don't have the prototype. I can't do ut.complete like I can with my task.complete because I don't have that prototype. So I have to add that. And so the way we do that is we use object.create. So I can do urgent task. We'll come up here, urgent task.prototype. I could just set it equal to task.prototype. But the reason why I don't want to do that is because that just assigns them to each other. So if I start changing urgent task.prototype, it's going to start changing task.prototype too. And I don't want to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to use object.create and we're going to pass in our task.prototype. And what that's going to do is make a new object for my prototype out of tasks prototype. So those are different, and I'll show you that they're different here in just a little bit. But for right now, let's see if I can complete my urgent task. So now when I run my sub object, I see completing task, this is urgent. So now I have a true sub object. I've got a true inheritance going on where I have my constructor and I have my prototype all coming down to this new object, urgent task. But now I want to change some things. Remember over on the task before, we were changing save to do something. And we're going to do that again in this sub object because now I can do urgent task.prototype.notify and have that equal the same function. So I can just copy everything over from before, but now it's actually on the prototype of urgent task. And I can also do the save. I can do urgent task.prototype.save, and we can do some special stuff before saving and then do that same task.prototype.save, and we use the call like we did over here in task where we added save.call this. I can do the same thing here, task.prototype.save.call with this, and now this refers back to urgent task or whatever that object scope is that's there. So now when I do a ut.save, let's add notify in here too. So we can do this.notify. I can do this.notify, do some extra special stuff, and then save it all through here. So let's run that. Now look what we've got. We've still got our legacy task stuff. Nothing's changed on my task. Legacy task is still working, and that's the beauty of the decorator pattern, is because I don't want to mess with task, and I have zero risk that task is going to break. But now I have completing task, this is urgent, I'm notifying people, I'm doing some more special stuff before saving, and then saving the task exactly the same way that task is saving. I'm calling this same method task.prototype.save, so I haven't changed anything. I've just wrapped it with some additional stuff. So this is more true sub-objecting and true inheritance that we have going on inside this more extensive decorator pattern. But you've got two options here. We've got very simple decorators in the task.js, where we're just adding a couple of properties and methods onto a new instance of task, or we're truly inheriting and creating a whole new thing called urgent task that I can create multiple versions of. So that's the decorator pattern in a couple of different forms. Let's see how decorators work over on the Angular side.